with Kathy by Design. I'm so glad you could join me here today. I have a really fun guy type card, or really anybody who loves the great outdoors. This is made with Authentique Paper's Rustic collection, which is one of their new collections. I just love the colors and the outdoor images. This is the 12 by 12 collection kit, which is what I used. I didn't use all the papers, but I did use several of them. And then here's the 12 by 12 cardstock components. I love these cardstock components. I find so many fun ways to use them. And that comes in the kit. So I also used, to make my shaker box, this Eileen Hull Mailable Frame Die by Sizzix. And I cut this out. I'll explain it in the, actually I explain it in the tutorial, so I won't go into it here. But it makes a great shaker box. So this is a 5 1/4 by 7 1/4 top fold card with a 1/2 inch spine. I have loads of tutorials on my YouTube channel that show you how to create this from 8 1/2 by 11 cardstock. So I don't go into that here. Wrapped it with some burlap string, added some little pine cones that I picked up in the woods. This is a metal filigree flower that I painted, then heat embossed with Seth Apter Chunky Rust embossing powder, really reasonable ribbon brown and ivory, burlap string, wood buttons from my stash, just lots of texture. I don't know where I got this cute cardinal. I think I picked him up at a flea market. In a bag of metals, and he was just perfect here. I love this. So inside the card, with graduation and Father's Day, summer birthdays, you know, scouting trips, all that sort of thing, I thought it would be really fun to create a rustic masculine card. So this top half of the card actually works. I'll just show you this. You can put a gift card in here. It will fit a gift card in this little pocket. And then on the bottom, I've created a little flip element with a pocket. In the pocket, you'll learn how to make this bookmark. Isn't that fun? This actually will go like, oops, struggling. That over the top of a book page and mark Dad's place or the reader's place. Then this flips over. Here's just a fun little sentiment panel. Stay wild and never stop exploring. And then room over here to write your own personal message. So the tutorial's coming up. This will show you how to put all of this together. Really fun, a lot easier than it looks. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. So hang around. Here comes the tutorial. Let's get our craft on. I've got my 5 1/4 by 7 1/4 card base with a 1/2 inch spine prepared. And if you look on my YouTube channel, there are all kinds of videos showing you how to create this card base from 8 1/2 by 11 cardstock. Just very briefly, I'll tell you I cut 2 panels, 5 1/4 inches wide. I score a 1/2 inch. I tuck the one panel into the other and adhere it. And then you've got this lovely card base. But you can watch those videos to learn that. Let's start on the inside of the card. And I've got a little bit of a messy desk going on here because I have lots of paper panels cut. So the first thing we're going to do for the top half of this card, where our little gift card holder is going to go, is 4 7/8 by, I believe, 6 7/8 of this really fun wood paper. We're just going to adhere this down. This is the easiest part, so we're going to get that out of the way. Then just center this. Try to get it straight and even. And then this is punched out from that cardstock component sheets. And we're just going to turn this into a pocket by adding a little adhesive on these tabs and then along this bottom edge. And then this is just going to be adhered right here. And I'm going to use the lines on this grid paper to help me keep it straight. I'm a little to the right, but I didn't want to cover up the pine branches. But you can see that's going to make a sweet little pocket that you can tuck a gift card in and work perfectly. So that's the top of the card, piece of cake. Now for the bottom, I have cut a 5 1/8 by 7 1/8 panel of this wonderful plaid. That's the back side of the grid paper. But before we adhere that down, we're going to use our craft cardstock, and I'll just show you. This is all pre-scored. This piece is 5 by 6 3/4, and I put it on my scoring tool, and I just scored at 1 1/2, 4 1/4, 4 1/2, and then these fold to make this little flip page. Do you see that? And this little 1/4 inch just means it's going to fit over. If you decide to put anything bulky on the inside, it's going to allow it to flip freely. So with this held like this, we're going to place adhesive, flip it over, place your adhesive on this 1/2 inch flap. Then come in, make sure I'm doing this right. It's always harder to do things on camera. Those of you who do YouTube videos, do you notice that? Oh, I put the adhesive on the wrong side. Okay, I want the adhesive on this side of the flap. And we're just going to line that 1/2 inch score line up with the edge of our paper, centering top and bottom, and then just press that down. So your little 1/4 inch spine, see, is even with the edge. Then our plaid panel, we're just going to adhere over that, and it hides that little hinge, that little flap that allows the little pocket feature to turn, which looks slick. I like that. So my craft mat and my card base are the same color. That wasn't good planning on my part, because that makes it hard for me to see. So there you go. See how easy that is and fun. So on this side, the inside of the flap, I have cut, I've got all these little bits and pieces of this fun collage. This piece is 2 5/8 by 6 5/8. And we're just going to lay that down. I love working with a collection because papers in a collection all go together really well, and it makes it very easy to design a nicely composed piece. So then from my scraps, I cut 2 little 2 by 3 squares, and I've inked all my edges with ground espresso distress ink. You know me, I like those inked edges, but you do not have to do that. You can mat if you want to mat. I chose not to mat because I thought these patterns, even though there's a lot of detail in them, they don't look busy to me. Like, it looks okay to me. So we're going to glue those down. Then from the component sheet, and uh-oh, this always happens. Here we go. I've punched out Stay Wild, the ampersand, and Never Stop Exploring. Isn't that fun? So we're just going to adhere those. Kind of try to keep stuff, I mean, you can go all crazy and at an angle and stuff. I thought I'd keep them on the straight side. Never Stop Exploring. That looks really good. And then our ampersand. So Stay Wild and Never Stop Exploring. Nice. I'm just going to put a panel where you can write a message, because sometimes that's really nice to have in a card. So we're just going to ink these edges really quick, and I'll give you the measurements on this. Usually I just pick a scrap because that's how I roll, people. 4 1/8 by about 5 1/2. So we're just going to lay this down, And this becomes a nice spot to write a personalized message. So gift card, fun panel, message, let's see. From the component sheet, we've got this really fun border with the deer and the evergreens. So let's just put that down there. Just to kind of finish it so it doesn't look quite so plain. And nice. I think that's straight. And then we've got this little octagonal icon. Here's how I get those little chads off. I just take my fingernail, scrape around that. You can use a sanding block. You can just clip them with your scissors. And then we'll just put this up in this corner, or maybe like, yeah, like that. All right. That goes just like that. Now you've got a great place to write a message. This would be a great, I think this would be a great graduation card for a guy. I think this would be a great Father's Day card. Anyone who likes to hike, mountain climb. So this beautiful tree bark paper is going to line our pocket. Get that straight. And this is, I think I just did 2.5 by 6 5/8 is what I did. Yep, 2.5 by 6 5/8. Now, just take a little bead of adhesive, top and bottom of this flap, press that down. Now you've got a pocket. We're going to line this pocket with this great piece of the houndstooth, and this measures 1 3/8 by 6 5/8. Just like that. Another quote from the component sheet. This is the same quote that is on, I think this is the same quote that's on all the branding strips of the paper, but I would have to double check that to be completely sure. Now, to make this bookmark, this is one of those cute banners from the collection and from the component sheet, and this is also from the component sheet. And I just used an oval die, and I'll link that in my blog post, then matted this on here. We're going to put a little bit of adhesive. Actually, we're going to put adhesive all along the top of this. I matted this on craft cardstock and then just cut around it. So on the back side, we've got a matching piece of craft cardstock that I've already inked. We're only going to put our adhesive at the top, like so. Then I cut a second oval, and you can see exactly how this is going to work. But I thought this was a fun little way to make a bookmark. And then this, oops, let me get everything straight and lined up, because they really do match perfectly. There we go. Hit this with a little ink. I've got a little overage at the top, but it doesn't look bad. All right, so you can see this is going to just slip over the top of the book page, and there's a bookmark. Isn't that great? And this goes in this pocket. So now we're on the front of our card. Let me move this out of the way. Using this wonderful tree bark paper, I cut a 5 1/8 by 7 1/8 panel and inked the edges. Then I took this really great all over border print. This is also 5 1/8, but it is only 4 and, let me see, 4 7/8. It's the back side of that. So my guess is this is what was left over after cutting the base panel. So this is going to sit up toward the top, just like that. All right, then I use that Eileen Hall, oops, I'm not straight. Fix that real quick. All right, then I use that Eileen Hall frame die, cut it out just like it is. I took the flap off. I cut along the hinged area. I backed the window piece with clear cardstock. And then I cut strips of, you could use foam tape, I just used waste chipboard, and I created my elevation in between, backed it with the other cut piece of that frame. This is a really quick and easy way to make a shaker, and filled it with my shaker elements. This is a little rusty bird. I don't even know where I got this guy, but he was in my stash and I thought he worked great with this collection. I stitched this burlap trim from Little Birdie Crafts, added some wooden buttons, and this is our shaker box. And I keep finding different ways to make shaker boxes. This is a really easy one, and I will do this again. And I want this to go above slightly, just about like that, and press that down. Then path less traveled, this little tab from the component sheet just tucks right in over here on this side, just like that. Oops, I should have done these before I put the glue down. These are also banners. I want this one on the back side, and let's see if I can lift this. This glue dries really fast, so we might be in a little bit of trouble here, people. All right, that's okay. I will just trim this down and trim it down a little bit more. All right, perfect. Same with this. Okay, that looks great. And then just add some adhesive. Get this tucked in there, just like that. And press this back down. Oops, keep that guy straight. I knew I was doing something wrong. I even was like saying to myself, isn't there something else you're supposed to do here first? But that's okay. I bet this happens to you when you're crafting too. It's always good to see how to fix things. This is just burlap string, and to add a little texture, I want to wrap this. I'm going to start on this side actually. Try to leave an end long enough to tie a bow. Hopefully I can get around twice, maybe just a knot. All right, well, we can get around once. Once is good. Actually, I think I can do twice if I fiddle with the length a little bit. All right, and then just tie this in a square knot. We don't need a bow. So right over left and under, oops. Oh, for heaven's sake. There we go. And I don't think we need to do a complete square knot. I think that works just great. We're just going to let these kind of dangle down. I like the way that looks. I want to try to scooch this and center it with my banners if I can. So the way I do that is I kind of fold my card base and gently, there we go. There, that looks right to me. Excellent. We're moving right along. To finish this off, I've tied, I think this is about a 2.5 inch, oops, a 3-inch double loop bow. And before you ask me, I don't do bow tutorials, and I'll tell you why. If you go to the Really Reasonable Ribbon channel on YouTube, Bonnie Garby, who is the owner of Really Reasonable Ribbon, has a host of bow tying tutorials. And that is how I learned how to tie bows. And so out of respect for Bonnie, that is where you can go to learn how to tie bows. Then this is burlap string. I mean, why reinvent the wheel? So now, this little guy. This is a metal filigree from the Funky Junky Boutique. And this is how it looked when I started. I mean, the style's different, but the finish is the same. So to alter this, I painted it first with Rusty Hinge Distress Paint. I just brushed that on. While the paint was wet, I sprinkled it heavily with Seth Apter's Chunky Rust Baked Texture, and then heat embossed it. And look at that. Then I came back with my paintbrush and just dabbled on little bits of that Rusty Hinge. And I think this is gorgeous. And I love how it looks with all these rust tones. So we're going to just adhere this on the top of our bow. And I just think that's beautiful. I love that. And normally I would not try to adhere a metal with a hot glue gun, but the burlap, for some reason with burlap string, it works. So that's awesome. Then I have these little pine cones that I did pick up on a walk in the woods, believe it or not. And I'm going to just adhere these to the strings over here, just for that little extra touch of fun. And I'm just going to put a Post-it down so that they don't actually glue themselves to the card, because I want them to dangle, which I think would be cute. So there you have it. That's it. We've got one extra little pine cone if we want to tuck this in, but I don't think we need it. I also use Seth Apter Dirty Sand Baked Texture just to add that little kind of frosty or, you know, gritty texture to these little pine cones. And if you don't live in an area where you have woods, I think you can buy these at the craft store. So now, final step. This gets adhered to our card base. I like to do it this way because this way, well, for a lot of reasons. For one thing, it's easier to work with this, not being glued to the base. For another thing, it keeps it clean, and I don't have to worry about dimensional elements getting crushed. And especially with a shaker card, because there's so much static on that clear cardstock, you can end up with a real mess. So just press this down. I am really pleased with the way this turned out. I really like it. This is such a great outdoorsy, woodsy card, and cute enough to set out on a bookshelf in an office, I think. So there you have it, Authentique Rustic, a little shaker card with inserts, perfect for Father's Day, graduation for a guy, anybody who likes to hike, climb mountains, spend time outdoors. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope I shared some tips and tricks that you can use in your own crafty adventures. If so, I'd love to hear from you in the comments section. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I would love to have you along for the ride. Now I'm going to go get my craft on. Bye.